everybody. This is Charles Stew of Coaches Unfiltered. Well, we have something new for you today. We won't be having an episode of Coaches Unfiltered, but instead we will have a special 2021 PBA mock draft episode with our fellow tiebreaker podcast members of 2OT and the Prospects Pod. As always, this special episode is made possible by Smart. Live Smarter, Live with Purpose. Smart's goal is to inspire the Filipino youth to live their lives with passion and purpose. So let me introduce our quote-unquote experts and team representatives first. For 2OT, we have Carlo Pamintuan. Hello, Carlo.
Hi, Coach Charles. Thank you for hosting this. I'm very excited. This will be version 1 of our collaboration. So I hope that, we get to enjoy this process.
Yep, this is going to be fun. I hope we have some heated debates. For my other fellow coaches and of our Coaches Unfiltered pod, we have, first, Coach Anton Altamirano and also Coach Paolo Layug. Hello, guys.
Hey, Charles. Nawala si Anton.
Hi, Charles. Hi, Pam.
Carlo, di niyo babatiin? Ganun ba ka-compare?
Hi, Carlo.
Okay. And last but definitely not the least, the chairman emeritus of the PBA D-League and a proud prospect from Malabon, Randolph Leongson. Hello, Randolph.
Hi, Coach Charles. Ako na muna. Wala muna si Norman. Tsaka, assurance lang. Wala akong intel na nakuha dun sa coach namin na si Kiefer. So, safe from tampering itong magiging proseso natin today.
May makakuha ng tama ng picks ng NLEX, baka yung tablet pwede i-share dito. Sila. Okay, so our ground rules will be simple, guys. Okay, so we're gonna have 2 rounds in our mock draft. All 97 aspirants who have submitted their forms can be picked. That means that we won't have a Gilas draft for now. Baka sa second mock draft meron na. And all field foreigners are assumed to be eligible in this one. So all of you guys will be picking based on the need of the team which was randomly allotted to you. Okay? Any objections? Any other thoughts?
No objections, Coach Charles.
Okay, very good. So let's get it started, no? Of course, let's see. Who should we pick first? Sino kaya? Okay, round number 1. The very, very prestigious first overall pick, which was awarded to Terra Firma, is to be represented by Randolph. Okay, you're on the clock, Randolph. The clock is basically pag nainip na ako.
Hindi, ang question ko lang naman is pwede ko ba i-trade yung number 1?
Grabe, trade ka agad?
Hindi, I mean, in true Terra Firma fashion. But since wala pa naman tayong takers and since Terra Firma in theory needs to find a suitable replacement dun sa pinakawala nilang CJ Perez, I think it's just logical that Terra Firma picks at first will be Joshua Munzon, who I think is one of the best pure athlete na ready na sa PBA at this stage.
Okay, what do you guys think about that? Do you agree?
Well, of course. I mean, you need a scorer who can put up the numbers na ginawa ni CJ Perez. He was, at least a 25-point scorer, can score up to 30, 35 points. So if you list down all of the guys dun sa draft ngayon, I think Joshua Munzon would be the top guy who would try to score that much in any particular game.
Bagay sana sila kung silang dalawa ni CJ nandun. Tingin ko lang. But
some things aren't meant to be, Coach Charles.
Coach Anton, I want to know your thoughts kasi bata mo to si Josh Munzon. Medyo matagal ka nakasama.
Well, I agree. Joshua Munzon, I think he's one of a couple of players here in this draft na I would say PBA ready talaga. He's not really a rookie. He's played in the professional in the ABL leagues, and then syempre sa amin sa 3-on-3 he's played against more physical players. So he's kumbaga sa akin, he's really ripe already for the pros, and replacing someone like CJ Perez, I think he's the best fit to for that role.
Okay, that's a fair point. So with that being said, the second overall pick belongs to the Northport team, and actually it's you, Anton, who's on the clock. Okay, I will give you some time to think about it.
Yeah, well, with the with all these players in this draft, it's really hard talaga na, especially we're considering everyone. It's very hard for this pick. Pero I'm looking at the team of Northport. Last year they did not have Robert Bolick, and it was really vital. Nakikita mo talaga nung bubble na medyo kulang talaga sila. And he's coming back, but I think the best talent, and I think he would fit in any team for me, is Jason Brickman. I mean,
Interesting.
sanay ang Northport having a Romeo Pringle before, and I think with the Bolick Jason Brickman combo, I think they can make something happen. They can make noise in the PBA right away.
And Stan Hardinger pa, no?
Yeah.
Bagay. Any objections, guys? What do you guys think? Was that a reach? Fair, good choice?
I think if you can get a guy who's like in the top, whatever, 3 or 4 in total assists in NCAA Division 1, I mean, how can you go wrong with that? And siguro naman, if you're the teammates of, Bolick and Jason Brickman, all you got to do is stand and catch and shoot. That would be pretty fun for them too.
Okay, ikaw,
Sa akin,
Randolph, yes.
sa akin, Coach Charles, it was pretty surprising for Anton to take Brickman at 2 given Brickman, given yung papeles niya, hindi pa nga natin alam. Although, as much as proven
Not
na rin naman.
considering nga, Randolph. Not considering anything.
Yeah, but kumbaga, I mean, the argument against Jason Brickman will be his age, na medyo irrelevant naman given the PBA is medyo a grown man's game. Although it surprises me since we still have a lot of picks na pwede. That's still a decent pick for Northport at least.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, let's move on to the third pick. Coach Pao, you got to get this right. We're banking on you. Which is the third pick belongs to the NX Road Warriors. They have back-to-back picks, third and fourth. But let's go with number 3 first. Coach Pao, who do you have?
Okay, I don't need any time. This is the easiest pick for me. Okay, Mikey Williams. Okay, for me, if you get a game changer, you go for it. Number 3 pick, you get a game changer, Mikey Williams, whose comparison is like Stanley Pringle, and then you pair him with a Kiefer. That's your backcourt. Oh my God, that's a perfect fit for Coach Yang. Like his system, very pick and roll heavy. Always has a lot of guards. So now your guard rotation is gonna be Mikey Williams, Kiefer, Kevin Alas, and Jericho Cruz. That's tough for any defense to defend. And then you throw in whoever they get in the next pick. Carlo, you better nail that one. Okay. And then an import, and then now Raul Soyud is stepping up. That's a nice squad, man.
Would you have taken him number 1, Coach Pao, if you were Terra Firma?
I would have taken Mikey Williams. I'm not complaining about Munzon. I think a factor is that he is younger. So if you want to build more for long term, but I like what Randolph said. Is it's a grown man's game, and Mikey has a lot of experience. Obviously, played for Mighty, played in ABL, played in the NBA. I think at that time it was called the D League. So he can come in and contribute right away. So it's a no-brainer pick. If Mikey Williams is available, I think you should go get him.
Okay. Anyone with objections to that?
No.
Ako, I agree talaga with Paolo kasi we were talking the other day. Ang description ko with the tandem they had with Kiefer Avena is like when they had as an import si Manny Harris. So it's like you have 2 scoring guards, yun isa sa mga kulang ng ng NLEX eh. So they have 2 picks. They have the third and fourth, meaning that if they get Mikey Williams, bahala na depende na sa kailangan ng team for the next pick kasi best talent available, Mikey Williams is the best talent available.
Okay, but you pick Brickman over Williams still. So that means you think he's
Yes. Yeah, pero iba kasi ang playing style nila eh. I mean, Mikey Williams is a guard also, but he's more of a scorer. Talagang someone he'll go to. Brickman, he will create for you. He will create for those star players.
Actually, they're both great. Kaya dyan magaling yung Mighty. Kinuha yung pareho.
Talino yung coach eh.
Okay, now, since you said the 4th pick, bahala na kahit sino dahil nakuha na si Mikey Williams. Let's ask Carlo, who will be representing the NX Road Warriors. Carlo, who do you have?
With your guards, you're set with Kevin Alas and Mikey Williams and Kiefer Avena. So I have to explain this saying na my pick was heavily dependent on yung pick ni Coach Pao. but he took care of the guards. So if I'm Coach Yang Yao, I'm getting my Gabe Norwood type of player. I'm picking itong si Jamie Malonzo. I want a defender, an athletic defender who can attack the basket, has a shot that has improved. Yung mid-range game niya, he's starting to practice as well. Showed us his ability with Mighty Sports to shoot from the outside. So I think he will plug in a lot of holes for NLEX because he will give them versatility on both ends of the floor. So if I'm NLEX, I'm getting Jamie Malonzo.
So you don't think that NLEX needs to get another big man for now, Carlo?
They can, and we know Coach Yang has has a liking towards stocking up on big men, but I think in terms of talent level, dun ka na muna sa makakatulong from day one. And you have a lot of big men anyway that you can rotate. So dun ka na muna sa wingman mo who will be there for the long haul.
I would agree. Even if he's from LaSalle, I really like him.
That's why you got him for Mighty Sports.
Exactly. And he's cool. We were still in touch a lot. I'm very excited for him. I think a lot of people are debating between him or Munzon to be number one. But I mean, so far, all the picks have made sense. Okay, move on to the fifth pick, which belongs to Rain or Shine Elastic Painters. Coach Anton, you're up again.
Okay, fifth pick. Since NLEX got, Carlo picked Malonzo, and Rain or Shine is in need of a guard or wing. The best name right now is Jeremiah Gray.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeremiah Gray. He can actually at 6'6", he can play the guard. He can play. He's athletic. You coached him in Mighty Sports, so alam mo kung
puro Mighty Sports
Four in a row.
Dapat yata sponsored na tong episode na to
30 coach pa, Mighty Sports. Problema, lahat yan, di mo alam kung clear to join the draft.
Immaterial. Coach.
Immaterial for now, guys. For our fans, it's immaterial. Don't worry, we will have an updated one. But we are taking the scenario because we still don't know. And we just want to have fun with it. Okay, Coach Anton, bakit pa si Jeremiah Gray?
Yun nga, like I said, talaga complete package yan for a guard. With Rain or Shine, he can be an instant impact. Yun ang hinahanap nila eh. And they have someone like Gabe Norwood, and ito parang he's like his long as Gabe Norwood, pero more of a scorer to. Talagang I think something na well, he can defend also, but he's more of a scorer talaga na pwedeng maging go-to in the future.
Well, who else were you considering? Just out of curiosity.
Honestly, it was Malonzo.
Malonzo.
Pero naunahan ako ni Carlo, so yeah.
Okay. Ito, Magnolia is our sixth pick. Can you guys guess sino kaya yung magpipick sa Magnolia? Loyal Magnolia fan for the longest time.
Before.
Siyempre. But he knows this team the best. So, Carlo, who do you have for Magnolia?
They clearly need a big, right? Kasi big man yung kailangan. But there are a couple of available talents who are not necessarily bigs that I could also consider. So, do I get someone who can play 3 and hindi pero this is a tough one.
You have time? I'll give you time because I know you're thinking hard.
Personally, I'd want to get Alvin Pasaol because I think he is talented enough to be a helpful scorer. But I would want to add size as well.
Okay.
So I will have to go with Leonard Santillan. He's a proven rebounder, masipag, sobrang sipag na rebounder, and he knows his role. Hindi siya magkakamali because his role will be defined. He does not have to score a lot because the Magnolia's offense will be generated by the guards anyway. If he can, settle into a Rafi Rivas role for a power forward, then that is what Magnolia needs.
Oh, by the way, Mighty Sports alumnus rin yan. Just put it out. Okay, but Carlo, do you see Santi playing the 3 spot in the PB, or do you see him purely as a 4 or 5?
I think with Magnolia, he will play 4. Kasi the way that Coach Chito plays 3 guards, how he likes to play 3 guards, and then if a 3 will get to play, it is more often than not, it would be Rome. Diba? His best defender. So I think he will be exclusively as a 4 in the Philippine Cup. Maybe in the import conferences he will
Okay.
slide down
Ikaw,
to that.
Coach Anton, since again you've spent the last few years with Santi, your thoughts on him and I guess the position he played in the PBA and just him being a PBA player.
Ako, I love Santi. Talagang I've never seen a player who's talagang sobrang, kumbaga, sobrang sarap i-coach kasi he just works hard every practice, goes all out every game. Whatever he can guard the wing, he can be a big, he can shoot. Talagang it's easy to to say good things about him kasi talagang he's being compared to someone like Mark Pingris. So being with Magnolia, magandang storyline din yun na he would go to Magnolia.
Okay. Pero ikaw, Coach Anton, I have to ask you this because 3x3 players of yours have been picked. Probably the other two, well, may probably get picked also. But do you feel that playing 3x3 for so long without playing 5-on-5 for maybe a good 1-2 years, will that affect them? Yeah, the adjustment.
Siguro slight lang kasi I mean you played 3 years na 3-on-3 but before that you played more than almost all your life na basketball. Siguro I don't think it's gonna be a big factor. Actually, it will help in terms of physicality, in terms of siguro speed. Nakakatulong din sa inyo. More than as a disadvantage.
That's fair. Okay, at number 7 we have Alaska Randolph.
Coach Charles, this pick, ito I can bet to all of you and even to our viewers na alam ko mali talaga to. For the reason na alam natin na there's a strong possibility that there will be a special Gilas draft. But looking at Alaska and looking at the depth of the field na sinasabi natin sobrang loaded, ano ba yung kailangan ng Alaska? They just lost Sanitos who retired. They badly need a point guard. Pero for this pick siguro, I think they need to get the best talent available. And for me, at this stage, it's Calvin Oftana, who's a proven scoring na napakita niya sa Gilas, was an NCAA MVP. And it would really be exciting. Theoretically, if we can see him and Alin Bulanadi play side by side sa Alaska if given the chance.
Okay. Well, unang-una sa lahat, Rando, kaya tayo nandito, hindi tayo kaya tayo nandito, hindi sa PBA defensive ka naman sa pick mo. Why? It's a good pick. We are assuming nga na bawal. I mean, walang bawal na lahat eligible nga ngayon na walang Gilas draft. For now. Okay. Guys, what do you think of that pick? Interested ako, sinabi mo, Alaska needs a point guard. They still have Casio and Ahan Misi. Ano, Coach Pa, what do you think?
For me, I think it's a good pick. Obviously, and a lot of you would know this, one of my favorite players who's not from CSB is Calvin Oftana. I think he's a very, 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 very special talent. And if this was another draft, he could easily be a top 3 pick. You can't go wrong picking Oftana. You want to play the 3, you want to play the 4. He can do both. He's going to be a good player and no complaints. I do think that maybe they could use a point guard, but I don't think you can pass up on Calvin if he's available.
Okay. All right. Since nobody seems to have objections, let's move on to the very important pick, which was traded for CJ Perez, basically the number 8 pick, which is Terra Firmas. Goes to you, Coach Anton.
Very interesting talaga tong pick na to. Again, the best talent available for this pick, and I think may mga ibang factors din akong sasabihin. Ang pipiliin ko for this pick for Terra Firma is Taylor Statham.
Wow. Bata mo yun, siyempre.
Well, yeah. One factor na naisip ko na bakit yun is magsasama ulit si Joshua Munzon and Taylor Statham. And that's a very good combination. They have chemistry together, they play well together. And in yung ibang factors, of course, syempre titingnan natin si Taylor Statham. What can he do? He can play the wing, he can play big, he can shoot. Veteran, internationally played in several countries. I think talent. He could easily be in the top 5 for me. Pero yeah, I mean, that will be a steal for Terra Firma at number 8.
Sundo pala sa ni Munzon. Kala ko nga, hindi. Kaya, ako dati.
Best friend yan, best friend.
Okay. Parang galit-galit sila palagi. Guys, what do you think of this pick?
I think Terra Firma needs a big. I mean, yun yung kailangan nilang, yun yung sobrang butas nila in the PBA bubble. You could see it na parang they were forced to play Roosevelt Adams as a 4, which basically rendered him, parang it took him away from his game. We know how good he can be, and then they played him out of position. He basically struggled in their first few games. So they need a big who would just play as a big.
Okay. That's a good point.
It didn't look as much of a gamble after kinuha ng Blackwater si Mauricio last year. But it made sense for Terra Firma in picking a Taylor Statham just because it adds more ceiling sa kanila. Kung titingnan natin yung frontline nila ngayon, who do they have lang? Si GP Faundo, Joseph Gabayni, Christian Balagasay. Those are, kumbaga, for contending teams, not to demean them, but kumbaga second unit yan eh. I'm not saying na it's a guarantee na magiging starter itong si Taylor Statham, but pairing him up with Joshua Munzon, knowing what they can do dun sa 3x3 will be really interesting pagdating sa 5-on-5 court.
Well, they better get a good pick at that 8th pick after what they just gave up. Now, Coach Paolo, you're picking for Meralco. You have to get this right. If you get this right, who knows? They may hire you. So please. Very well. Okay.
Oh man, the pressure. Okay, so my pick is, I'm gonna preface it by saying it's also dependent on because of the recent trade. So they just got Macbello. Okay, so a guy like Alvin Pasaol would be available at this pick. He's very interesting, but now they're pretty much set at that three spot, which is Alain Maliksi and Macbello. So they have a really good lineup. They have a lot of guards who are very good. They have big guys, but I think one with if you're considering that Papa Ray is gonna retire soon, hopefully not, but he's getting up there in age. They kind of need like a replacement, and this might be a reach for everyone, but I kind of like Ben Adamos. Okay, right. So Muyang still available, Pasol still available, but I'm gonna pick Ben Adamos. I just watched a couple of his games yesterday, and the improvement that he's made from the NCAA to the MPBL is tremendous. All of a sudden, he's running the floor hard. He's jumping up in air and grabbing rebounds in traffic. He can play the 4 or the 5. His outside shot still needs some work, but he's got the touch. So if he's learning from Reynald Hugnatan, that might be like a good comparison for him in terms of long-term growth. So I think he can come in and contribute that backup 4 spot after Cliff Hodge. So now your big man rotation is going to be Hodge, Almasan, Baclao. Then you have Toto Jose. I mean, they have a lot of big guys. Yeah. But I think Ben can come in and contribute right away.
That position is something that Meralco has been looking for a while. They've sort of bigs. That's a nice pick, Coach Pao, I think. Obviously, you know more about the two guys you were choosing from, Muyang and Adamas, having seen them first up, going up against them in the NCAA. But kayo, Carlo, Randolph, Anton, did you actually think that Adamas would be better than Muyang, a better pick than Muyang? You can object. It's okay. No hard feelings.
Personally, I like Muyang's game a little bit more than I like Adamos's, but depende na sa taste yan eh. I mean, they're in terms of just their ceiling, it's pretty much the same. Yeah. So if Coach Pao thinks he's a better fit for Meralco, I can't disagree with it.
I like that. That's great. Okay, Randolph, you're up again. You are picking for Phoenix.
For Phoenix to, don't worry, Coach Pao, you don't need to have much problem dun sa next pick mo kasi I think whatever I pick here will make more sense para sa pick mo come 11. At Phoenix, pinag-uusapan natin yung needs. Late first, dyan na papasok kung sino yung kailangan mo. But it's really too hard to pass up at 10 for me yung Alvin Pasaol. Yeah. It would be really interesting for me to see him play in Phoenix with Calvin Abueva, Matthew Wright, Justin Chua, and ito si Jason Perkins. And that opens up a lot of possibilities. I would dare see Matthew Wright play at 1 and then still have Pasaol, Abueva, and the other guys there. And ito, ang laking bagay para sa Phoenix ito kasi it helps them pagdating dun sa scoring. And Coach Anton would attest na aside from the 49-point explosion, si Alvin has developed a lot sa 3x3. He has learned to play as an undersized big man and has improved his defense and yung kanyang passing during dun sa 3x3 traverse niya. So it would really be a steal for Phoenix if bumagsak si Alvin Pasaol sa kanila.
Oh, that's interesting. No? They'd be the swaggiest team for sure.
Yeah.
Kasama pa si
Daming team na maiinis dyan for sure.
Marami, no? But my only question pa sa all is, and maybe Coach Anton would know this because he's seen him more. From seeing him last play in UE to his body size now, he grew a lot. Like, got heavier, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, ano siya eh. Baga parang James Harden yan eh. Minsan, pumayat, tumaba, hindi mo, ano eh, may ganun eh. Yeah.
You think the weight
Fluctuate.
the weight that he has would be a problem for him in the PBA if he were to maintain that, Carlo?
I would have to say that kailangan niya munang i-determine what kind of player he wants to be. Maybe with the help of his coaches. Just determine what kind of player you want to be and then decide kung what would be more helpful for you. At his height, alam naman natin yung height niya pang shooting guard in the PBA, but he's playing with more heft, so he can play as a 3 sometimes. Maybe in the UAAP he played a 4 sometimes. It's all about determining kung ano yung kailangan niya.
Okay.
So if he needs to add more, like what Bo Belga did to be able to play as a 5, and then that's what you do. Pero it's up to him and his team kung ano yung kailangan nila maging.
Okay, let's move on to the 11th pick. Coach Paolo, you have Northport.
I think this is an easy pick in the sense that I did not expect Larry Muyang to drop all the way to number 11. So even though they have Christian Sanhardinger, I would still get Larry Muyang. It's hard to get bigs with a lot of size. So you still have, when everything's back to normal, you're still going to have 2 import conferences. So now Christian won't be getting banged up guarding the import all the time. So now you have a Larry Muyang, who has a nice post game also. I think he'll learn a lot from Coach Pido. And he'll also learn a lot from Christian. And hopefully he can learn something and gain about the activity from Christian. I think that's more of his right now. Something he needs to work on is his fitness and being able to move. But you can't replace the size that he'll provide, which is really important for a PBA team.
And the Letran connection of the staff of Northport and Muyang would probably make it easier for him. No? Muyang is a beast. I mean, he was a big part of that championship team. So, okay, that makes sense. Now, for the final pick of our first round, obviously the fan favorite team. Carlo, who do you have?
It's a tough one. You could go many ways with here. You can get someone like Troy Reich to add more ceiling, but they just signed Greg Slaughter to a new contract. So para sa akin, I would think like Coach Tim Cone and just decide on what kind of player he likes picking. He likes size.
By the way, I'm gonna interrupt you. He watches our show, guys. To all our viewers, no, I'm making that up, but he may just listen to us, so get it right.
Ako just going to the usuals nitong si Coach Tim. He likes players who have size, who are versatile. We also what he did with Arvin Tolentino, how he was able to shine in his first year. I'm picking William Navarro of Ateneo. I think he has good size. He has smarts playing for Ateneo and Coach Tab Baldwin. Really good potential for the kid. I think he will shine under the system nitong si Coach Tim.
Wow. Okay. What do you guys think about that? Any objections?
You know, it's interesting because who's the one player who's always played for Coach Tim, like on all the teams that he's coached?
Joe Devance.
Who might be a player comparison for William Navarro? Lefty, tall, point forward type.
He's not a lefty. Is he a lefty?
I think isn't he lefty or righty? I don't know.
Right, man. He finished as well with both.
Okay.
What? It's true. He, except for maybe playing with his back to the basket, but I think maybe outside up on top, he may have better handles than Joe. I don't know, but yeah, it's an interesting pick. Ooh, So were you guys surprised with any of the picks? I mean, just looking at the board now that amongst each other, was there any surprise pick for you if you had to pick one? Coach Anton, I'll start with you before we go to the second round.
I think all the picks okay. Problema, I think I'm surprised na wala si Troy Rex sa first round. Yun lang. That's my And also another name na wala pa sa first round, I think, is Brandon Rosser. Okay. So those two, para medyo I'm surprised na wala sila sa first round.
Okay.
But
yung surprise ko more of how Alvin Pasaol and Larry Muyang fell actually. Parang I was imagining them they would end up higher. I thought Pasaol would be picked in the top 6, but then again, pag ina-explain mo yung need ng teams, naiintindihan mo why not, why they couldn't get him at that spot. But again, I mean, this is just all up for discussion para lang naman ma-present natin lahat ng possibilities in the upcoming draft.
Actually, kay Pasaol, I don't know if naging factor because nga, well, I don't mean this any offense to 3x3, but he's been playing there for a while. I think people forget how great he was, especially playing for UE. I mean, kay Munzon, medyo given yun. Santi, kulang yung big, so kaya yun. But I don't know if that was a factor. Coach Paolo, any surprise picks here?
I was a little surprised with Anton's Jason Brickman, but not to take anything away from Jason. I think he's a great player. But most of the names that you would think at the number 2, maybe a Malonzo or a Mikey Williams, but you can't go wrong with Jason Brickman. He's a great point guard.
Okay. Randolph, who do you...
I think yung surprise lang sa akin would be yung how Mikey Williams moved up to 3, knowing na the public hasn't seen much of him. But I defer to Coach Pao. Coach niya siya, and I expect you to know his game more. Another surprise sa akin would be Taylor Statham leapfrogging itong si Ben Adamos and Larry Muyang among the top bigs. Again, we're not discounting yung papers and any documentations dyan. But ako personally, I feel Larry and Ben are one of the sturdiest undersized bigs that we have in this school. And with 1 or 2 inch difference na lamang ni Statham sa kanila, I don't think that's really much of a difference.
Bad pick daw, Coach Anton.
Lagot ka kay Taylor.
Okay, well, guys, that was a great first round. Now, I'll give you some time. I'll give you a minute or two to gather your thoughts and prepare for the second round because this is actually much harder. I think there are a lot of... And for now, we're just going to do 2 rounds. So you have to make sure and hope we don't leave anybody else. So for our viewers, stay with us. It's going to be a quick break. We'll be right back.
Break through a world where big data beats your worries. A world that gives you priority when innovations come. This is the GigaLife on Smart Signature. Simplified by the Philippines' fastest mobile data network. The choice is simple. Move up to Smart Signature and make your mark. How do I know it's meant to be? Simple, smart, ako.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to our mock draft. Again, if you're just joining us, let us recap the rules. Everybody is eligible, every single applicant, whether Phil-Am or not. And we have assumed for now that there is no Gilas draft. So here, take a look at the board. You are seeing our first round. Joshua Munzon gets first overall, followed by Jason Brickman, Mikey Williams, Jamie Malonzo, Jeremiah Gray, Leonard Santillan, Calvin Oftana, Taylor Statham, Ben Adamos, Alvin Pasaol, Larry Muyang, and William Navarro. Now, as we move on to the second round, we have the teams, the orders have some teams, it's not the same as the first because there have been some trades. So we're just putting the final team that as of now will pick in the draft. Okay, so let's begin the second round. Randolph, are you ready? You are picking for Northport this time.
Dito sa second round, napag-usapan natin to beforehand dun sa meeting natin when we had the debate who's the better guard and whatever. But I think I have to go dun sa need ng team na to. And it would really be interesting for me if Northport dito sa second round will pick Jerick Anmisi as their second round selection. One, kasi kailangan nila ng added 3-point shooting. I know it would have been great to have an Aljun Melesio there, but interesting sa akin yung magiging teammates uli yung Sean Manganti and Jerick Anmisi. Oh, of course, we can say na ito si Jerick Anmisi still rough around the edges. I believe he could have still used one more year with Adamson in the UAAP, but with the gifts that he has, yung depensa, I think it's a good fit para sa batang pair to get him at second round.
Wow. Do any of you think this is a reach, guys? Just out of curiosity.
Not necessarily a reach, but I thought Randolph would at least go for more ceiling.
Okay.
Because of who's available currently.
Okay. Kayo, Coach Paul, Coach Anton.
Ikaw na ba?
Ikaw na, Anton.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
it's fine. If you agree, it's fine.
sa akin kasi, maybe Randolph was thinking na gusto talaga ng Northport si Messi, and I think if they don't pick him now, baka maunahan sila. Some teams are like that, pero talent-wise or probably, baka I think masyado maaga.
Okay. Coach Pao, ikaw.
There's other players who I think I would have picked ahead of Jerick and Misi as of right now. Considering that Jerick, I think the biggest challenge for him is having to shift from being a 2 guard to a 1. I think that's going to be his position in the pros, unless he really becomes a much better defender at the 2, then you can get away with him playing the 2. So, it's a second round, so no real objections.
Well, hopefully he's bulked up during this very, very long off season. I've always been a fan of his game. I just worry about the strength, but okay, that's fair. Because as I've been reading some articles, a lot of people seem to have thought maybe he'd even be a third round pick. I don't know about that, but that's why it's like, the 13th pick goes to Jerick. That's good. Good for him, though. That does happen. He's one of the best shooters in this draft. Okay, next, Blackwater. Coach Anton.
Blackwater, obviously maraming kailangan. They need a lot of holes to fill, and they have 2 picks, so it's just like the same with the first round with NLEX. They have 2 picks, so whoever they pick sa first pick nila will fill other positions na with their second. So for me, honestly, sa simula I had a player in mind, pero I think with the people available, I have to adjust, and I'm picking Troy Wright. Picking Troy Wright. Well, hindi lang dahil player ko siya, but he's a high IQ guy, and with Coach Nash, I think he will thrive in his system. That's very easy to coach. Talagang he's not someone who wants the ball or who needs the ball. He will do whatever role you give him. So, and he's 6'7", 6'8", so can't get wrong with that.
He's a good guy for sure. He's a very nice guy. But I'm curious because you mentioned you were planning to take somebody before knowing that Troy Reich was available.
Yeah, ang original pick ko was someone familiar with Coach Nash. That's Ken Holmqvist.
Okay.
Kasi syempre, familiar siya with the FEU system and everything. He was a player back in the UAP when I think they won the championship with him, di ba?
Yeah, he was part of that squad.
Yeah, that was my original pick. Pero since they have 2 picks, malay mo, sa second pick, kunin nila yan. They have the luxury to do that.
Hilig na sa big man eh. So yung kinuha nila last year. Coach Pao, ikaw, the next Blackwater pick?
Well, actually, I was waiting to see if Anton would pick Troy Reich. So he made my job harder by picking Troy. So that would have been the easy pick for me. So for me, I think if we already got the big guy, I'm going to go with a name that we've heard a few years ago. And then only recently, his name has been popping up again. And that's Jordan Heading. Okay. I watched a couple of Alab games recently. And because I never watched him play before. I'd hear his name. He's a pretty good pick and roll player. Not that athletic, but I think he's good IQ. So I think he'd be a good fit for Coach Nash.
Don't you think they have too many guards?
Yeah, but it's a second round pick. Who else are you gonna pick right now? I mean, there's other guys who might have more upside, but I think the IQ of Jordan Heating might help him adjust easier.
Okay, that's fair. And then, well, next we have Phoenix. Carlo, who do you have for Phoenix?
Dahil dun sa nangyari in the first round, how they landed Alvin Pasaol, I think the 2, 3, 4 spots, maybe the 2, 3, are already fine for Phoenix. They don't need and they don't need to add anyone there. So it's about getting another point guard or getting another big man. Kasi you know that Perkins and Chua will be their top big men. So after that, sino yung mga sumusunod? We saw Dave Marcelo play, we saw J.R. Reyes play. In the point guard position naman, I think it's also an issue that Phoenix will have to address. But at this point, I think I'll have to go with a big man because I might get another guard in the third round. So I'm picking an Alab teammate of Jordan Heading. I'm picking Brandon Ganuelas Rosser. We did not see him play a lot in Alab because it's still a team dominated by imports. The big men will always be imports, but I like his moxie. I like his ability to grab rebounds and defend. He can also hit the three from time to time, which is something that Phoenix actually pushes their players to do. So I think he will be a good fit there.
Yeah. Medyo complete na rin team nila because they have another wing in Pasaol, again, as we assume they would take. Okay, it's a pretty good pick. Now, number 5, Randolph, rain or shine in the second round.
Coach Charles, ang dami kasing, well, nakikita natin sa draft board natin, tatlo yung pick ng rain or shine. And given the depth of this draft is you can get anyone. Dalawa lang yung pinagdedebatihan ko dito. And I think, I honestly believe na rain or shine would need a pure point guard. Yung mga gwardiya nila ngayon, karamihan, 2 guards, combo guards, sila ng batak. So, I think I'm willing to take Aljun Melesio at this spot just because ito yung tao, ito yung player who's unselfish enough who knows to make his teammates happy while also knowing when to score. So kumbaga to me, Aljun is parang getting a T.Y. Tang or maybe a Chris Chu at an extent na eh. And kumbaga rain or shine fans will love having him na kumbaga parang throwback nung mga players nila dati.
Interesting, no? The point that you said na medyo pass first, I think that showed a lot in his last year kasi before that he was really just caring about his scoring in the UAP, taking a lot of shots. But I want to know who's the other guy you were choosing?
I was honestly thinking about Frankie Johnson, but the thing with Frankie kasi is he also needs to get his scoring. Na to me medyo repetitive when you have guys like Ray ng Batak in your team. So I decided it's better siguro. It's a better fit if I take Aljun first.
And may Jeremiah Gray ka na based on our first one. Don't worry, yung Frankie Johnson, tingin ko, may dalawang pick pa si Coach Anton. Baka ma-pick sa isa. But Coach Pao, you were giving 2 thumbs up to that Aljun Melesio pick. Why is that?
You mentioned it already, Coach Charles, about his development and how his game has matured over the last year. So I watched his D-League games from last year, and some of the passes that he was making they're not the passes that he would make early on in his collegiate career. So I think he's really, really developed as a point guard, and he has that added benefit of being able to create his own shot, which is it's mandatory for any point guard in the PBA.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, Carlo, number 6 of the second round is Magnolia's pick, and who do you have?
I think for me, this is a tough balance between adding another big or getting the best available talent. Since I'm okay with getting Santillan to shore up my forward rotation, I would have to get yung player na hindi pinili ni Dolph in that pick. I'm getting Frankie Johnson. I think he's talented enough to be a decent scorer, an off the bench scorer in the PBA. If they can, give him that Peter June Simon role, just go in as a 6-man and shoot. Yun lang yung kailangan niyang gawin. I think it would be an effective pick for Magnolia at this spot.
So hindi pa sila surplus sa guards with Panchero, Di, Baroka, Halalon?
Yeah, in terms of 1 and 2s. But again, it's a balance between is the big you're getting worth it at this point, or should you just get the best available talent? That's what led me to pick itong si Frankie Johnson.
Coach Anton, what can you say about this pick?
Buti nilang pinik mo. Yun ang masasabi ko.
Bakit? Kasi kung hindi, ikukunin mo sana sa...
Hindi, aasarin mo na naman ako, Charles eh. Because I was gonna pick him. I was gonna pick him. I was gonna pick him, but good.
Okay. Since you're next, might as well. So who is your pick now?
Okay, so since Carlo took off the pressure from me, kasi I'm a Frankie Johnson fan. I don't know with these guys, but since wala na siya, my next pick is for Alaska. They need a big, kasi I mean Sonny Toss isn't getting any younger. I think he's probably gonna play another conference, hopefully.
After the vaccine, he said.
Yeah. So, you need a big. So from the list, I would go with Ken Holmes.
Okay. You kind of explained why, no? Because you said it made sense for him to go to Blackwater because of the familiarity with Coach Nash. But dito sa Alaska, it's an interesting pick. Kayo, what do you guys think of this pick?
I'm gonna add, because if Anton didn't pick Ken, I would have.
Okay.
And a big reason is because of Coach Danny I. Obviously, I've worked with him before, and I feel he's one of the best big man coaches out there. You can see the development in the big men from Alaska. Look at Abu Tratter, how he's done the last two conferences. Ebonia. And I think, Ken's a different type of player from them. He's a lot slower, but the size, I think Coach Danny will be able to help him develop into a serviceable big man.
Okay. That's fair. Good point. Right. Let's move on to NLEX. Randolph, who do you have?
But Charles, napansin ko I've been picking a lot of guards and wings. And etong NLEX, based doon sa mga kinuha ni Paolo at ni Carlo in the first round, Mikey Williams and Jamie Malonzo. And to still be at this point na meron pang surplus of bigs, it's really a steal for them. And knowing Coach Yengyao, he wants a big man who he can develop the same way na na-develop yung Raul Soyud sa kanila, the same way na na-develop yung Joel Ponferrada when he was still in Rain or Shine. And I think at second round at this position, it's really safe for him to pick an Andre Paras. Yeah. Andre Paras, alam natin medyo celebrity ang laruan nito, but for those who watched him in the D-League, is one of the most hardworking guys. He may be not as talented as yung kapatid niya, but kitang-kita mo yung grit sa kanya, and you don't need him to score. He can shoot in the perimeter, but he is really smart. He can box out, he can get the rebounds. So it's a good project for him, and also ang laking bagay ng commercial value nito pag nakuha ng NLEX, ha.
Interesting. A bit undersized si Andre, but from what I've seen in the D-League, grabe, he's a hard worker. Ngayon, medyo may show kami, and he says he's been working out by himself, really trying to get his game in lang. I wish he can have time to play a bit more. No? Kaya, what do you think about this pick?
I think you should shout out your show.
Okay. NBA Hype on with Andre Paras and the Nieto brothers, Isaac, Bea Escudero, Tyler Tio comes on. Shout out dyan. Go Andre, I'm rooting for you. But Carlo, what do you think about the pick?
Yeah, Andre Paras is another guy who knows what he's going to be in the PBA. Parang I love those types of players na alam ko ito yung role ko eh. And that is all I'm concentrating on. Yun lang yung gagawin ko. His role in this team is to defend the paint and rebound. So I agree with Randolph. If he's available at this point, Coach Yang likes getting bigs. So get him.
Okay, that's fair. All right, number 9, Alaska, Coach Pao.
Okay, so looking at the draft board, you already covered the wings with Calvin Oftana, and then Coach Anton picked Holmqvist. So they're super loaded. We talked about this in our pod with Coach Jeff. They have a really deep lineup where they can play 11, 12 guys. If there's one spot where they might need another guy, and especially here, 21st pick, I take a chance on RK Liagan.
Yeah.
Okay, shooter, tough as nails. We'll see if his size is going to be detrimental in the PBA. But imagine a practice where it's Marcelino versus RK. Hey, that'd be fun practice also. You keep the intensity high.
When you were in Alaska, Coach Paul, they had a player, si Galigues. Is RK a good comparison for him? Would you put RK above him?
I think it's a good comparison. They're both stocky guards who can shoot the three. I think Abel might be a little bit bigger than him, which isn't really saying much, but it'll be a good battle to try and get that basically the third point guard spot behind JV and Mike Di Gregorio. But they also have Maverick Ahanmisi. So there's going to be a lot of positional battles in the Alaska practices. So it should be exciting.
Okay. Now let's move on to rain or shine, Coach Anton.
Yeah, I'm looking at kasi I was looking at how Rain or Shine picks players. Parang last year they picked Adrian Wong, they picked what do you call this?
Rodriguez.
So those guys parang they play multiple positions. They can play 1, 2, 3. So I'm looking at someone na parang ganon. And the guy na nakita ko is JD Tungkab. I think JD could be someone who will fit well with Rain or Shine. He's a big guard for his position. He can play 1, 2, 3. So at this stage of the draft, I think he's a good pick for Rain or Shine.
What I find interesting though is that he's basically the 23rd pick in this draft or 22nd, but he might even be included in the Gilas pool. So
Correct.
because he was part of that pool, but it is interesting that he has dropped this low. Okay, Rain or Shine's other pick, Coach Pao.
It's kind of tough in this stage of the draft. I'm just gonna pick a guy just based on his athleticism, and he was the first name I saw here. But it kind of stands out. Very interesting player, David Morel
Uh-huh.
from UP wing.
Wow.
Okay, I just think
Wow.
they have a defensive unit. They got a guy who's an athlete. Maybe they can develop him. I don't know about his shooting, but maybe they can develop that.
Okay. We tried to recruit him to CSB. Obviously, that didn't work out. But Randolph, you've been covering the college scene also for a while. What do you think of Morel or this pick?
I think meron pang he could have used 1 or 2 more years sa UP, but the thing is with David Murrell, he hasn't had the luxury of getting the limelight for himself. Nung nasa UP siya, he was playing behind the star-studded unit. It was supposed to be dun sa CEU when he was playing with unproven players with the Scorpions, and yung only guys na familiar tayo doon will be a Jerry Pingoy. So it's gonna be a challenge for him to make it in the PBA, but for Rain or Shine to get him at this point na nasa late second round na tayo, I think it gives him a bit of a luxury, and of course he's gonna learn from the bevy of big guards, undersized forwards, I mean, na Rain or Shine. Remember, they still have Vince Tolentino, they have Prince Rivero there, and yun yung mga bata na pwedeng maturuan nila Bo Belga, nila Joel Ponferrada when it comes to toughening up pagdating sa PBA.
Valid point. Okay, now for our final pick of the mock draft and the second round, of course, I'd like to discuss with you guys that we may have left out or guys you would have wanted to pick or thought would be picked. We have Hinebra's pick, and Carlo, belongs to you.
Looking at the board now, parang there are a lot of players who will fall to the third round and still be serviceable and still, get minutes in their first year in the PBA. Guys like maybe Anton Assisio or Andre Caracot. I mean, specifically itong si Assisio, I think he could have benefited if he joined the last draft, not this one, because it's just too stacked right now. But for me, if I'm Hinebra, I don't really need anything right now. I'm the defending champion. I'm heading into the Philippine Cup with a Greg Slaughter possibly as he resigned. So I could take a risk by getting Demusis. I'm not doing this for Risa Diaz, but maybe I am. Para hindi sila magalit sa akin. But you know what? He has proven that he has the explosive athletic ability, can score. So if you're Hinebra, again, you're not looking for anyone specifically. So you have the opportunity to take a risk and get someone like him.
Okay, that's a interesting pick, no? Randolph, or has anybody seen enough of Nick Demusis to make a comment apart from Carlo? Coach Anton, ikaw sa MPBL?
Yeah, actually he also practiced with us at 3-on-3, so before the MPBL. So actually I was looking at him kay Paolo for Rain or Shine kasi familiarity with Coach Chris and Coach Mike Buendia, he would have been also a good pick for them. Ano siya kasi I think for me, he has to define what position he's going to play. Kasi he can play a 3, pero in the MPBL, he played a 4. So, he has to know what position he will be playing pagdating ng PBA. But athleticism, he's one of the most athletic players I've seen sa MPBL. And I think that will be something going for him.
Coach Charles, meron akong mga nakakausap when it comes to Nick the Muses outside of Riza Diaz. Na meron tayo narinig na comparisons dito na could be a Rudy Hatfield. So that's very interesting for me. We haven't seen enough for him from the MPBL, but with the energy and the athleticism na sinabi ni Carlo, and for Ginebra to get him at basically 24th overall, that's not really a bad take para sa Ginebra.
I just know he has mad hops. That's why I like grabe rin tumalo niyan. Okay, guys, that was a very interesting draft. Obviously, to our viewers, bear with us. We are not the management of any PBA. The next one will be we'll have a better picture. And they're basing it. Wala pa raw inside info yan kay Randolph or anything. It's just a pure gut feel. Okay, now before we end, I want to know some names that we may have missed out. Are there any names that you thought might be drafted or you would have wanted to pick pero hindi na pick? Sige, I'll start with you, Carlo.
Ako, I'm a fan of Karakot in Lasal. But again, it's a loaded draft. Surprised a little bit, I guess, that he did not fall in the second round. But ang dami. But if you start taking out yung Gilas draft and maybe the submissions of the papers for some of the players there, I think he might be able to sneak into the second round.
There's a factor kaya kay Karakot na, well, you covered Alab a lot more than we did. But did he get a lot of playing time there? Was it a factor na maybe, of course, andun si Jordan Heating, Brickman, baka he didn't get to play as much?
I would base it more on how he competed during their practices. Because in the games, he was not able to play a lot. But in terms of how he pushed the team in practice, I was impressed with what I saw. If he brings that same fire into the
okay, Coach Pa, who's surprised?
Not really surprised. I would think that a team might take a chance on him, and that's Laput. I mean, size is still at a premium. Okay, he's a very let me emphasize, he's going to be a project. Okay, and he does have injury history. So, but if you're picking him in a late second round or a third round, I think the investment isn't that much. You just take a flyer on him, and who knows, he might become a third or fourth string big man for you, someone who can bang with imports and maybe become serviceable. I think he's someone who could, if you spend the time, maybe 2 years or 3 years to try and develop him, then he might be someone you can take a chance on.
Who knows? Maybe he just wasn't given time in LaSalle or something. I do think somebody will pick him a bit higher because the Filipino coaches are just so obsessed with height. And he's like 6'10". Coach Anton, you were gonna mention Laput, no? Kung hindi nabanggit ni Coach Pao.
Of course!
Pero sige, okay, since Coach Pao has already mentioned Laput, who else would you have? Who were you surprised not to hear picked so far?
Ako kasi probably like 3 names. One is yung si Andre Karakot nga with what Carlos said. And then 2 other names na talagang I'm very high na siguro underrated for me is Anton Assisio. Anton Assisio kasi talaga for me, I mean, I coached him in PBL. Talagang he's some guy na talagang I wish we had 5 of them in our team. Kasi grabe talaga ang basketball IQ, work ethic. People say that he have a liability on defense, pero he was never a liability for us in defense. He can do whatever you tell him, he'll do. Pero he's known for his shooting. He can be a point. So I think he's someone. I think for the draft, he'll be drafted in the probably second round, or you'll never know. Take a chance late first round. And then another guy na we were talking about, kami ni Pao. I think siguro wala pa masyado nakakilala sa kanya, and we were looking at clips, was Tater Brown. think Tater Brown, when I was watching him in those clips, he reminded me of Mike De Gregorio. And maybe sa akin kasi, if you're there's always a place for a shooter in any team. So he might be a surprise pick.
Oh, he played well against us in the Jones Cup, playing for UBC. He shot pretty well there, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, Randolph, ikaw.
Ay, wala namang nakakagulat dun sa first 2 rounds na with the players that we pick. Yung mga na-miss out na lang siguro natin would be mostly yung mga MPBL players na karamihan ng coaches natin at an extent yung public ay hindi napanood. But one player who I feel can be a sleeper for any team will be a Joshua Toralba. Of course, kung ibabase mo yun dun sa ipinakita niya with Eak and Lasal, medyo we've seen glimpses. But I was really impressed with how he played for Makati Super Crunch in the MPBL, playing alongside Arudi Linganay, Ajong Baloria, and Joseph Sedurifa. And he's I can say, one of the best 3-point shooters, aside from yung usuals natin, like sila RK Ilagan, sila Aljon Melesio, sila Jeric Hanmisi. So for a team to get a Joshua Toralba at a 3rd round, that's not really a bad gamble. Actually, it's more of a steal pa nga. And I won't be surprised that with the size, with the length that he has, he can find a way in the PBA in the same mold of an Adrian Wong.
Okay. Now, as we wrap things up, I just want to know, obviously this year with this pandemic, it's a bit of a challenge for us. But Coach Pao, with teams not being able to, at least I'm assuming that they can't really bring in a lot of guys to work out at the same time. How hard is it? How hard will it be for guys to maybe raise their stock, or how hard will it be for teams to evaluate who to pick? Obviously, because you've had experience with Alaska coming out with draft picks. I know you do a lot of the studies for them, or did it at least.
Yeah, I think it's really really difficult. You're basing it, first of all, most guys haven't played in over a year, so you're basing it on games that they've played in 2019 or maybe even earlier. So it's really really hard to evaluate, because there might be guys who, like, after 1 year, are they still going to be the same player, or are they going to be better? And then the other thing is, there's a lot of Phil Ams or Phil foreigners who are coming in, and we just haven't seen them play. And even if you did, like a Ken Holmqvist, he played here before but didn't play that much, and then all of a sudden he's coming back. Now, how are you supposed to evaluate him? You're basing it on video from 4 years ago, so it's a really really hard time. It's very very important that video coordinators and coaches are able to get game tape. And I think another thing that's really really important for coaches is if they'll be able to talk to these players face to face or via Zoom or whatever. It's going to help them evaluate and see how these players are, because now you're going to be deciding, do I go with a draft pick, or will I just go with current players that I have who already know my system? So there's so many things to take into consideration right now.
Now, with that being said, Carlo, I'll let you have the final word before.
Why? Why do I have the final word?
Ito ko lang. You talk so well. You're my favorite. This cheating guy. But, no, I just wanted to know, like, how excited are you for this draft? Like, what are some of the expectations that you have?
I'm so excited for this draft. Adding to what Coach Paolo said, marketing is a huge thing for you to be drafted, because your name has to be someone that's familiar dun sa coaches for them to give you a chance. Because if you're someone who played in the UAAP or NCAA, you would most likely get the benefit of the doubt as compared to someone who's coming in fresh na hindi pa talaga nakikita, na videos lang yung meron. So more than any other year, I think this would be, tough for us to see people coming from left field and all of a sudden surprising us by being drafted early. But you know what? The influx of talent in the PBA is always something that we view as something that should excite us. We were all witness to what we saw in the PBA bubble. The competition was outstanding, but more than ever, I mean, this draft is loaded. So we might be seeing a very different crop of teams next season when we get to play again come April.
It's gonna be a tough fight for their jobs. All right, guys, I want to thank you all for your time. To all our viewers, thank you for listening to us. Of course, as always, this episode was made possible by Smart. Live Smarter, live with purpose. Smart's goal is to inspire the Filipino youth to live their lives with passion and purpose. We will have another mock draft before March 14th, the PBA draft. If any of the players who we picked or didn't pick are watching, feel free to tag these hosts who us motivation. Well, it's just gonna be fun to watch. But hey, we are wishing all the draftees the best. Those who don't know if their papers are going to make it in time, we
Good
are
luck.
praying for you. Good luck. And everybody, on behalf of Coach Anton Altamirano, Carlo Pamintuan, Coach Paolo Layug, and Randolph Leongson, thank you for joining us. I'm Charles Q. We are signing off, and we hope you enjoyed this mock draft, and we will give you another one very soon.